My husband hasn't kissed me in 7 months. Not since I told him about Phoenix. He still touches me. Every Tuesday and Friday at 9 p.m. For exactly 3 minutes, he sets the kitchen timer, the one we bought for pasta. I became a ghost who could still feel pain. I know how that sounds. Like I'm the victim here, when I was the one who broke us. But that's not what this is about. This is about what happens after confession, after forgiveness that never actually comes. This is about learning that punishment can wear a wedding ring and sleep in your bed every night. The timer sits on our granite countertop right now. Silent. Digital red numbers reading 0. Tom bought it during our honeymoon in Tuscany. We were trying to make cacio e pepe in that tiny rental kitchen, and he'd insisted we needed precision. 3 minutes for perfect al dente. He'd said, kissing flour off my cheek, that was 4 years ago. Now it times something else entirely. I should have known when he stopped using my name. Sarah became you. You need to sign this? You left the porch light on. You have 5 minutes to decide. Never cruel, never loud. Tom doesn't yell. Tom doesn't hit. Tom is a management consultant who believes in systems, and he turned our marriage into one. The thing about Phoenix, it wasn't an affair. It was 40 minutes in a hotel room after too much wine at a conference with someone whose name I purposely forgot. 40 minutes that I carried home like shrapnel, cutting me with every step, every breath, every time Tom smiled at me not knowing. The guilt ate through my chest like acid. I lasted 17 days before I told him. 17 days! I counted them the way I now count everything. In befores and afters. Before Phoenix, Tom kissed me goodbye every morning at 7:42, right before grabbing his coffee tumbler. After Phoenix, he leaves at 7:38, tumbler already in hand. Some people say confession is selfish, that you're just transferring your guilt to your partner. Maybe they're right, but I thought we were the kind of couple who could survive truth. I thought his love was bigger than my mistake. I was right about one thing. He didn't leave. He just became someone who sets a timer before touching his wife. Before I explain how we got here, I need you to understand what we lost, because Tom and I, we were the couple other people envied, not in a showy way, in the small, specific way that made strangers smile at us in grocery stores. We had rituals. God, we had so many rituals. Sunday mornings meant the New York Times crossword, both of us hunched over the dining table, him with his mechanical pencil. Always mechanical. Never regular. Me with my purple pilot pen. He'd get the historical references. I'd get the wordplay. Our coffee would go cold in those ceramic mugs his mother gave us, the ones with the chipped handles we refused to throw away. He'd absently reach over and squeeze my shoulder when he got stuck on a clue, like I was his good luck charm. "What's a 7-letter word for devotion?" he'd ask. "Loyalty," I'd answer, and he'd kiss my temple, say, "That's why I married the English major." The last real kiss was Tuesday morning at 7:42. Every morning for 3 years, Tom would pad into the kitchen in his ridiculous Homer Simpson slippers, a gag gift from his brother that he actually wore, while I stood at the counter with our bamboo cutting board, slicing fruit for breakfast. He'd wrap his arms around me from behind, rest his chin on my shoulder, steal whatever I was cutting. Quality control. He'd murmur into my neck, his stubble scratching in that way that made me shiver. Then the forehead kiss, right before he'd grab his coffee tumbler, the silver one with the dent from when he dropped it during our camping trip, and head out. We weren't perfect. Don't get me wrong. Tom would leave his running shoes in the middle of the hallway like breadcrumbs. I'd use his razor to shave my legs and forget to tell him. He'd eat ice cream straight from the container. I'd leave hair in the shower drain. But these irritations were texture, not fractures. We'd bicker about them while folding laundry, him throwing socks at me when I'd complain, me retaliating with pillowcases. The touching was constant and unconscious, his hand on my lower back while we waited in line at Trader Joe's. my fingers fixing his collar before client dinners, the way we'd sit on our leather couch, that massive thing we'd bought on sale and instantly regretted because it was too big for our living room. And I'd put my feet in his lap without asking, and he'd absently massage them while scrolling his phone. Not romantic, just automatic. Like breathing, we made love the way long married couples do. Sometimes passionate, sometimes perfunctory, always familiar. Tuesday nights after his soccer league, when he'd come home sweaty and energized. Saturday mornings when we had nowhere to be. Quick encounters while dinner simmered on the stove, laughing about racing against the oven timer. That timer, always that damn timer. But back then, it meant something else. Back then, it meant the chicken would be ready in 20 minutes, not that intimacy had an expiration stamp. We talked about kids, had names picked out. Oliver for a boy, Sadie for a girl. Tom had already started researching school districts, had a spreadsheet because of course he did. We should start trying after Phoenix, he'd said in January, after you get that promotion. The promotion I was going to Phoenix to interview for. The conference that would change everything, though I didn't know it yet. I loved his hands. That's a weird thing to say, maybe, but I did. They're architect hands. Long fingers, clean nails, a little scar on his left thumb from a childhood accident with a pocket knife. Those hands would find me throughout the day, brushing hair from my face while I read, pulling me into impromptu kitchen dances while dinner cooked, tracing patterns on my back as we fell asleep. 3 weeks before Phoenix, we hosted dinner for his parents' 40th anniversary. I made that complicated lamb dish from the cookbook his mother gave me, the one I'd been intimidated by for years. Tom stood beside me at the counter, reading the recipe aloud in a terrible Julia Child voice while I chopped rosemary. "You need to bruise the garlic," he read, then grabbed me, said, "Should I demonstrate bruising?" and tickled me until I shrieked, getting rosemary in both our hair. His mother walked in on us like that. Me flour-covered and laughing, him with herbs in his hair, and she got this soft look. "You two," she said, just that. "You two." We were a unit, Tom and Sarah, said, as one word at parties, the couple who brought homemade pie to potlucks, who had a joint Halloween costume tradition, always puns, always terrible, who texted each other stupid memes during work meetings. My phone still has hundreds of his messages, heart emojis when I'd text him my lunch. "Drive safe. Love you." Every morning. The last one before Phoenix just says, "Proud of you, babe. Knock 'em dead." The morning I left for Phoenix, he drove me to the airport, even though I'd said I could take an Uber. Insisted on carrying my suitcase, the red one we'd shared on our honeymoon. Kissed me at security. A proper kiss, the kind that made the TSA agent clear her throat. 5 days is too long. He'd said against my mouth, "I'll be useless without you." He started timing our encounters 6 months later. Phoenix wasn't supposed to happen. I need you to understand that. I didn't go there planning to destroy my marriage. I went there exhausted, stretched thin like wire about to snap. The promotion I was interviewing for, VP of Strategic Development, meant managing 3 times my current team. My boss, Richard, had been grooming me for it for months, in that corporate way that feels like being slowly boiled alive. "Sarah, you need to be more assertive." "Sarah, executive presence means staying later." "Sarah, can you handle Thompson's presentation too? He's not quite ready for this level of visibility." Tom was supportive, of course, made me flash cards for the interview, helped me practice my presentation until 2 a.m, both of us getting punchy and stupid with exhaustion, him doing impressions of board members while I tried not to laugh. But his support came with weight, his spreadsheet of school districts, his parents asking about grandchildren at every dinner, his quiet assumption that this promotion meant we were ready for the next phase, the family phase. He started timing our encounters 3 minutes exactly. Meanwhile, my body felt like borrowed property, Richard commenting on my presence while his eyes tracked downward, the Phoenix conference organizer, who assigned me a sweet upgrade I hadn't asked for, with a wink that made my skin crawl. Tom's hands at night, loving but expectant, like my body was a dividend on his investment in my career. I'd lie there afterward, staring at our ceiling fan, counting its rotations, feeling like I was watching myself from very far away. The weeks before Phoenix, I started picking fights about nothing. Tom leaving dishes in the sink became a federal offense. His mother calling too often turned into a boundary violation. He'd look at me with this confused patience, like I was a spreadsheet with a formula error he just needed to debug. "What's really wrong, Sarah?" he'd ask, and I couldn't answer because I didn't know. I just felt claimed, like my body was a timeshare everyone had booked. 3 days before leaving, I bought new lingerie. Not for Tom, not for anyone. Just to feel like my body made its own choices. Black lace that cost too much that I hid in my laptop bag like contraband. Tom found the receipt, though. Of course he did. He managed our credit card statements and smiled this knowing smile. "For Phoenix?" he asked, and I let him think it was for the video calls we'd planned. Let him think I was being sexy for him from 1,000 miles away. Another small lie that would snowball into an avalanche. My sister Melissa called the night before I left. She could always read my frequency. "You sound wound tight," she said. I was packing, folding my new black dress, the one that made me look like an executive, not a wife, not a future mother, just a woman with her own last name on a business card. "It's just work stress," I told her. "Tom's being amazing, as always." "Maybe too amazing," she suggested, and I hung up on her. Called back immediately to apologize, but the seed was planted. Too amazing, too perfect, too much assumption that I was a grateful participant in the life we'd mapped out together. The morning of the flight, I couldn't eat the breakfast Tom made, scrambled eggs with the chives from our garden, my favorite, and blamed it on nerves. He rubbed my back while I stared at the plate, moved the eggs around with my fork. "You're going to be brilliant," he said. "CEO material. My brilliant wife." My brilliant wife. Like I was a feature in his life's operating system. At the gate, waiting to board, I texted him, "I love you." He texted back, "Love you too, babe. Remember, you've got this." Then, a second later, "Can't wait to celebrate when you get home." The winky face made me nauseated, not because I didn't want him, but because I couldn't remember the last time my body had felt like just mine. Untimed, unscheduled, unnegotiated. I found the spreadsheet by accident later. But that's jumping ahead. Phoenix was a mistake that started with a compliment that wasn't about my potential motherhood or my husband's good fortune. "Your presentation killed," the stranger said at the hotel bar. Just that. Not, "You'll make VP for sure," or "Your husband must be proud." Just recognition of a work I'd done alone, thoughts I'd organized alone, victory I'd earned alone. He was from Denver, I think. Maybe Dallas. I made myself forget his face the moment it was over, but I remember he had rough hands, different from Tom's architect hands, working hands that didn't come with spreadsheets attached. The wine was free. Conference wine always is, and I had 4 glasses on an empty stomach because I'd been too nervous to eat before my interview. The bar was loud with the kind of desperate networking energy that makes everyone lean too close. He asked about my work, just my work, not my husband, not my plans for children, not my timeline for having it all. We talked about market disruption and emerging technologies and hostile takeovers. And for 43 minutes, I was just Sarah, not Tom and Sarah, not future mother, not brilliant wife, just a woman who'd nailed a presentation about strategic partnerships. The sticky note changed everything. It wasn't even romantic. That's the part that would hurt Tom most when I told him. It was mechanical, urgent, wordless, a hotel room that smelled like industrial carpet cleaner, CNN playing on mute. My new black dress crumpled on a chair I'd never sit in. 40 minutes of being a stranger to myself, of watching from the ceiling as my body made choices my brain hadn't authorized. He left first. I sat on the bed for an hour afterward, still in my underwear, the new lingerie that was supposed to be just for me, watching CNN scroll through headlines about things that mattered to other people. I threw up in the airport bathroom the next morning. Then I flew home to my husband. Tom picked me up at arrivals, holding a bouquet of grocery store roses and that proud smile that made me want to dissolve into the airport floor. He'd made dinner reservations at Chez Laurent, the place we'd gotten engaged. Set up the tablet on the kitchen counter to show me the school district research he'd updated. Kept touching my knee in the car, saying how much he'd missed me, how empty the house felt, how he'd slept on my side of the bed just to smell my pillow. I lasted 17 days. 17 days of him bringing me coffee in bed, asking about the promotion, planning our future. 17 days of my body feeling like evidence. 17 days of him kissing me goodnight, not knowing his mouth was touching crime scene tape. He'd reach for me, and I'd see that stranger's rough hands. He'd say he loved me, and I'd hear lies rattling in my chest like broken glass. The night I told him, he was doing our taxes, had all our documents spread across the dining table, the lamp casting this honey-colored light that made everything look like a commercial for happy marriages. "We're getting a great refund," he said without looking up. "Maybe we can finally take that Italy trip. Revisit our honeymoon spot. I need to tell you something about Phoenix." He looked up then, still smiling, pencil paused over Form 1099. His face was so open, so trusting, like a door I was about to kick in. I told him everything. The bar, the stranger, the 40 minutes, the black dress in the hotel chair, the CNN on mute, the hour afterward on the bed, the throwing up, the 17 days of carrying it. I watched his face rearrange itself in slow motion, confusion, comprehension, devastation. Then something else, something calculating. He didn't yell. Tom doesn't yell. He sat there for 3 minutes. I know, because I watched the tax software's timer counting up in the corner of his laptop screen, then carefully set down his pencil, aligned it perfectly parallel to the tax forms. "Okay," he said. "Just that." "Okay." "That's it." My voice cracked. He stood up, started organizing the tax documents into his color-coded folders. Green for deductions, blue for income, red for receipts. His hands were steady. "What do you want me to say, Sarah?" "Something. Anything. Yell at me." "Would that help?" He looked at me then, and his eyes were like scanners, processing data. "Would me yelling make you feel better about what you did?" "I don't know. Maybe." He laughed, but it wasn't really a laugh. It was just the sound of air leaving his lungs in a controlled burst. "You're exactly like your spreadsheet predicted." "What spreadsheet?" But he was already walking upstairs, each step measured and even. The bedroom door didn't slam. It closed with a soft click that was somehow worse. I slept on the leather couch that night, the one too big for our living room. It squeaked every time I moved, keeping me company in the dark. The next morning, there was a sticky note on the coffee maker. "We'll make this work." 6 words that would become my prison. The new rules revealed themselves slowly, like bruises surfacing days after impact. First, the touching stopped. Not all at once. That would have been too obvious, too cruel. And Tom wasn't cruel. He was systematic. The morning forehead kisses ended the day after my confession. The hand on my lower back at Trader Joe's disappeared that weekend. The unconscious foot massages on the couch turned into him, sitting in his recliner instead. A careful 3 feet of space between us. He started timing our encounters. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me explain how you dismantle a marriage while keeping it legally intact. Week 1, he moved his pillow to create a barrier down the center of our king-size bed. Not a wall, exactly. Just enough of a boundary that crossing it would be a choice, not an accident. The pillows were the expensive ones we'd bought together at Bed Bath & Beyond during their going out of business sale, arguing playfully about thread count. Now, they were a soft border between two countries that used to be one. "I need space to process," he said when I asked about it. Reasonable. Therapeutic, even. Who could argue with someone processing? Week 2. The sticky notes appeared. Little yellow squares on the refrigerator with his schedule. Client dinner, 8 p.m. Gym, 6 a.m. Golf with Dad, Saturday. Not requests for permission or invitations to join, just information delivered via post-it. I started adding my own, a passive-aggressive war fought in office supplies. Book club, Thursday. Melissa's, Sunday. Grocery shopping, alone. 3 minutes, that's all I was worth now. The sex, can I even call it that? Started week 3. Tuesday and Friday, 9 p.m. He'd set the kitchen timer, the one from Tuscany, bring it into the bedroom like he was about to bake something. 3 minutes exactly. No kissing, no eye contact, no words except the bare minimum. "Is this okay?" he'd ask, and I'd nod because what else could I do? Say no? Beg? When the timer went off, he'd stop immediately, mid-motion if necessary, get up and take a shower. The first time, I lay there afterward, listening to the water run, trying to understand how intimacy had become a transaction with a receipt. My sister noticed first. We were having coffee at our usual place, the one with the uncomfortable chairs we complained about, but never changed venues, and she kept staring at me. "You look different," Melissa said. "I haven't been sleeping well." "No, it's something else." She squinted like I was a puzzle missing pieces. "You look dimmed, like someone turned down your brightness setting." I wanted to tell her everything, about the timer, about the pillow wall, about how my husband now scheduled touching me like it was a dental cleaning. But shame is its own kind of prison, and I was both the guard and the inmate. "That's not a marriage, it's a sentence," she said when I finally told her about the timer, weeks later. But by then, I'd already started believing I deserved it. Week 4, he stopped using the pet names. Babe became Sarah. Honey became nothing. Love became silence. He spoke to me in the tone he used for work calls, professional, measured, scrubbed clean of affection. "Sarah, did you move my laptop charger?" "Sarah, we're out of coffee." "Sarah, your mother called." The crossword ritual died next. Sunday mornings, I'd still sit at the dining table with the Times, my purple pen ready, but he'd take his section to his office, the one he'd started locking. I'd solve what I could alone, leaving his historical clues blank, the grid looking like a smile with missing teeth. I found the spreadsheet by accident in week 6. His laptop was open on the kitchen counter. He'd been checking our joint credit card statement, and I'd nudged the trackpad reaching for my coffee. The screen woke up to an Excel file titled Marriage Metrics. I thought it was a joke at first, maybe some weird therapeutic exercise his brother the life coach had suggested. But then I saw the columns. Date, type of interaction, duration, initiated by, response rating, notes, 3 months of data. Every conversation tracked and scored. Every mandated twice-weekly encounter logged with clinical precision. There was a graph showing intimacy frequency with a sharp decline after January 15th, the day I told him. Color-coded cells marking successful boundary maintenance in green, boundary challenges in red. The notes column was the worst part. Subject attempted emotional manipulation via crying, maintained protocol. Subject initiated non-scheduled contact. Redirected. 3-minute parameter successful. Optimal detachment maintained. Subject. I was subject. I printed it out. All 17 pages. Sat at the dining table with printouts spread where our tax documents had been, trying to understand how I'd become data in my own marriage. There was even a projection model for relationship termination timeline with multiple scenarios based on variables like subject compliance and external pressure factors. He'd been planning this. My confession hadn't broken his heart. It had activated a contingency plan. When he came home that night, I had the papers waiting. He looked at them, then at me, then shrugged. "I'm a data person," he said. "This is how I process. You're tracking me like I'm a project. Aren't you?" He set down his work bag in its designated spot by the door. "You became a project the moment you decided to fuck someone else." It was the first time he'd said it out loud. Fuck. The word sat between us like a loaded gun on the table. "I made a mistake. You made a choice. I'm making choices too. Mine are just more organized." He gestured at the spreadsheet. "This helps me stay married to you without losing myself. Would you prefer I leave?" The awful thing was, I didn't know. Leaving would be clean, final. This was death by 1,000 Excel cells. Coworker Janet cornered me by the coffee machine in week 7. "Honey, are you okay? You look like you're disappearing." I caught my reflection in the machine's chrome surface. She was right. I'd lost weight without trying, my work clothes hanging like I'd borrowed them from someone else. My face had taken on this hollow quality, like I was slowly becoming the ghost I'd felt like since Phoenix. "Just busy," I said. "Is Tom treating you right?" She lowered her voice. "Because if he's not hitting me," I said too quickly. Janet's eyebrows shot up. "That's a very specific thing to say. How could I explain that Tom was doing something worse than hitting? He was erasing me methodically, interaction by interaction, transforming our marriage into a managed decline. He still paid half the bills, still attended couples dinners with his parents, still posted photos of us on Instagram from before Phoenix with captions like 'grateful for this one.' To the world, we looked intact. Only I knew about the timer on the nightstand, the spreadsheet tracking my diminishment, the pillow wall that might as well have been barbed wire. Week 8 brought Dr. Chen. The couple's therapist Tom agreed to see, probably because it would look good in his spreadsheet under remediation attempts. She had a soft voice and harder questions. "Tom, how do you see intimacy functioning in your marriage now?" "We have sex twice a week," he said, like he was reporting quarterly earnings. "That's not what I asked." "Intimacy requires trust. I'm working within my current trust parameters." Dr. Chen's pen stopped moving. "You're punishing her." "I'm protecting myself." "By timing your encounters with your wife?" He looked at her steadily. "By maintaining boundaries that allow me to stay married without further emotional damage. Withholding affection is its own violence." Dr. Chen said carefully. Tom smiled his consultant smile. "I'm not withholding anything. We have sex twice a week. I maintain conversation. I fulfill all marital obligations." "Except love?" I said quietly. "Love isn't an obligation," he replied. "It's a gift, and gifts can be revoked." That night, after another 3-minute timer session, I lay in the dark, listening to him breathe evenly on his side of the pillow wall. The timer sat on his nightstand, reset and ready for Friday. The red digits glowed like eyes watching me, not sleep. I wasn't his wife anymore. I was inventory. The therapist's pen stopped moving. It happened at a hotel bar of all places. Not Phoenix, I'd never go back there, but downtown Seattle for a mandatory leadership seminar Tom had encouraged me to attend. "It's important you maintain your career trajectory," he'd said, adding it to his spreadsheet under Subject Professional Development. I was sitting alone, nursing a gin and tonic I didn't want, when a couple sat down next to me. Married based on the matching worn gold bands. They were arguing about tile choices for their bathroom renovation, but arguing like people who liked each other. She kept touching his arm when she made a point. He kept refilling her water glass without being asked. When she went to the bathroom, he watched her go with this soft expression, then caught me looking. "23 years," he said, like that explained everything. "How do you do it?" The question escaped before I could stop it. He looked confused. "Do what?" "Stay kind." He laughed. "We've been unkind plenty, but never cruel. There's a difference." That word, cruel, lodged in my chest like a fish hook. Tom wasn't yelling or hitting or leaving, but he was cruel in the specific way of someone who knew exactly how much they could withhold while still claiming righteousness. I called Dr. Chen from my hotel room that night. "Emergency session," I said. She made time the next day. "I need you to tell me something," I said before I even sat down. "Am I crazy for thinking this is worse than if he'd just left?" She set down her notebook. "What do you think?" "I think he's killing me with reasonableness. I think he's proving a point with my body. I think—" I stopped, the words too big for my mouth. "Go on." "I think he's making me disappear on purpose. Like every interaction is designed to make me smaller, until I don't exist enough to be a problem anymore." Dr. Chen leaned forward. "And what do you need, Sarah? Not what Tom needs. Not what the marriage needs. What do you need?" The answer came out like a sob. To be a person again. That night, I watched myself in the hotel bathroom mirror for a full 5 minutes. Really looked. My face had taken on this careful quality, like I was constantly bracing for the next subtraction. My shoulders curved inward, protecting nothing. I looked like someone had been slowly turning down my volume for months, and I'd been letting them, because I thought I deserved it. I masturbated for the first time since Phoenix, not because I was aroused, but because I needed to remember my body could feel something without a timer, without a spreadsheet column, without being rated for adequate response. It was messy and desperate, and mine. Afterward, I cried so hard I had to muffle my face in a hotel towel. The next morning, I extended my stay by 2 days. Didn't ask Tom, just sent him a sticky note photo via text. "Staying through Thursday. Important networking." He responded with, "Noted." Adjusted schedule accordingly. I spent those 2 days doing nothing productive. Sat in the hotel bar watching couples who still touched without timers. Walked through Pike Place Market and bought flowers just for me. Ate room service in bed while watching movies Tom would have analyzed for plot inefficiencies. For 48 hours, I existed without being tracked, and it felt like breathing after being underwater. On the flight home, I realized something that should have been obvious. Tom hadn't forgiven me. He just found a way to punish me that looked like forgiveness to everyone else, including me. The house smelled like his cologne when I walked in. The expensive one I'd bought him for Christmas. He was in his office with the door locked on a client call. The kitchen timer sat on the counter. Waiting, I put it in a drawer. He found the timer in the drawer that evening. Held it up like evidence. "We have a system," he said. "You have a system. I'm just inventory in it." Something shifted in his face. Surprise, maybe, that I'd found language for what he was doing. He set the timer on the counter, perfectly centered on the tile seam, because Tom centered everything. "Would you prefer I leave?" His default response now, whenever I pushed back. The nuclear option disguised as consideration. "I'd prefer you see me as human." Humans don't fuck strangers in Phoenix. There it was again. That word, fuck, sharp and meant to cut. But this time, I didn't flinch. "You're right," I said. "I fucked someone else. Once. For 40 minutes. And I've apologized every day since in every way I know how. But you're fucking me twice a week for exactly 3 minutes while pretending it's marriage. Which one of us is being more cruel?" He actually stepped back. "I'm maintaining boundaries. You're performing a marriage autopsy on a living patient." We stood there in our 2-big kitchen, the one we'd renovated together last year, choosing every tile and cabinet pull like it mattered. The pendant lights we'd argued about, he wanted recessed, I wanted statement, cast shadows that made us both look hollow. "I'm not leaving you," I said. "I'm leaving what you made us." "That's the same thing." "No, it's not." I pulled out my phone, showed him the apartment listings I'd been browsing since Seattle. Leaving you would be about Phoenix. Leaving this calculated cruelty you call boundary setting. This is about saving whatever's left of me. You're being dramatic. Am I? Show me the spreadsheet, Tom. Show me what cell I'm in today. What color am I? Green for compliant, red for challenging. What's my response rating this week? He had the decency to look away. You turned love into a transaction I couldn't afford. The words came out steady, clear, my golden quote, though I didn't know it yet. I'm trying to forgive you, he said to the refrigerator. No, you're not. You're documenting my punishment. There's a difference. His phone buzzed. Client call. In 15 minutes, probably. The world where he was competent and in control, where nobody surprised him with confessions that broke his spreadsheets. What do you want me to do, Sarah? Just pretend Phoenix didn't happen? Go back to normal? I want you to either forgive me or leave me. But this measured torture, this has to stop. It's not torture. We have sex. You set a timer. My voice cracked, loud enough that the neighbors might hear. Good. Let them hear. You schedule touching me like it's a colonoscopy. You track my responses like I'm a focus group. You've turned our bed into a performance review. Because I can't... He stopped, jaw working. Can't what? Can't touch you without seeing him. The words ripped out of him. Can't kiss you without wondering if you kissed him. Can't make love to you without thinking about Phoenix. The timer helps. It makes it manageable. Manageable, I repeated. You've made our marriage manageable. Would you prefer unmanageable? Would you prefer if I lost control? If I screamed and threw things and... Yes. God, yes. Anything but this corporate restructuring of our intimacy. He looked at me then. Really looked. For the first time in months. We're not sexually compatible anymore. The words landed like a diagnosis. Clinical. Final. We never were, I said. We were emotionally compatible. We were lifestyle compatible. We were spreadsheet compatible. But sexually, you need control. And I need to exist. You existed plenty in Phoenix. I picked up the timer, felt its weight. Phoenix was 40 minutes. This has been 8 months. Which one did more damage? He didn't answer. We both knew. I'm signing a lease tomorrow, I said. You can put it in your spreadsheet. Color code it however you want. The timer was still in my hand. I wanted to throw it, to hear it shatter. Instead, I set it down gently, like everything else in this careful, cruel death of a marriage. 3 minutes used to be perfect for pasta. Tom had already divided the checking account. I found out when my card declined at Whole Foods, buying the organic blueberries he'd trained me to prefer. You moved money without telling me. I created separate accounting streams, he said over the phone, client voices murmuring in his background. You have access to exactly half. Check your email for the documentation. The documentation? Of course there was documentation. A PDF with highlighted sections, clean mathematical divisions of our shared life, the joint savings split down to the penny, the investment portfolio already rebalanced, even our airline miles divided. He'd called customer service, had them separate our accounts, probably while on hold during some other task because Tom never wasted time. He'd already divided the checking account. His mother called me that woman when I ran into her at the farmer's market. Not Sarah, not even an icy hello. Just turned to her friend and said, That woman destroyed my son. Loud enough for the vendor selling honey to hear. Loud enough for the young couple comparing apples to turn and stare. I stood there holding a bundle of kale I no longer wanted, watching her walk away in her sensible shoes. The ones I'd helped Tom pick out for her birthday. The pillow wall wasn't metaphorical anymore. Tom had ordered a body pillow from Amazon. I saw the delivery notification and placed it precisely down the middle of our bed, like a soft Berlin wall. He'd even bought a special pillowcase, gray to match nothing in our bedroom, as if its ugliness was part of the point. The prenup had a morality clause. I'd forgotten, honestly forgotten, because when you're 27 and in love, signing papers feels like foreplay to the real event. Tom's family lawyer, the one who'd seemed so apologetic at our engagement party, sent a formal letter outlining the activated provisions. Adultery meant I forfeited claims to Tom's retirement accounts, his stock options, the equity in his family's rental properties. I'd signed it happily 8 years ago, wine drunk and certain we'd never need it. You knew, I said to Tom that night. When you insisted on staying married, you knew about the clause. He was organizing his closet, arranging shirts by color gradient. I knew about everything, Sarah. I'm thorough. This isn't thorough. This is vindictive. No, he said, aligning hangers exactly 2 fingers apart. Vindictive would be posting about Phoenix on Facebook. This is just contract execution. He installed a lock on his office door the next morning. Not a simple bedroom lock, a keypad entry system, like banks use. I watched the locksmith work while Tom directed him, specifying the exact height, the precise angle. The locksmith kept glancing between us, clearly uncomfortable. Marital troubles, Tom explained cheerfully, like he was describing weather. The spreadsheet grew new tabs. Asset division, separation timeline, communication log. I know because he'd print them out, leave them on the dining table for me to sign or initial. Always during dinner, his way of ensuring I couldn't avoid them. He'd eat his carefully portioned salmon while I stared at cells calculating my diminishment. Melissa came over on a Wednesday, found me sitting in my car in our driveway, engine running, unable to go inside. Move in with me, she said. Tonight. Just grab your things and go. I can't afford the lease I signed until the settlement. What settlement? Sarah, he's documenting your destruction. There's no winning this. But leaving felt like admitting Phoenix had broken us, when really it was everything after. The timer, the spreadsheet, the way he'd turned accountability into assassination. My lawyer, because now I needed a lawyer, was a woman named Patricia, who'd seen everything. She reviewed the prenup, Tom's documentation, the emails where he'd outlined our new parameters. He's been very careful, she said. Legally, he's done nothing wrong. He's maintained financial support, hasn't committed adultery, hasn't been physically abusive. The timer thing is weird, but not illegal. So, I'm just supposed to accept it? I'm saying the law doesn't recognize emotional warfare when it's this organized. Tom started dating before I moved out. I know because he added it to the shared Google Calendar we still used for bills. Coffee, C. Dinner, C. Sunday market, C. Never her full name, just that initial, but scheduled in blue, the color he used for personal appointments. The coffee was at our place, the one with the uncomfortable chairs Melissa and I complained about, but never left. I drove by once, couldn't help it, saw them through the window, her hand on his arm, him leaning forward in that intent way he used to lean toward me. She was blonde, organized-looking, probably had her own spreadsheets. Tom had a type, women who could be project-managed. The timer disappeared from the kitchen one day. He'd moved it to his locked office, probably, or thrown it away now that it wasn't needed. Its absence was louder than its presence had ever been. 3 weeks before I finally moved out, he left a sticky note on my laptop. Please initial the asset division spreadsheet. Tab 3 has been updated. Tab 3 was titled Emotional Property. He'd actually tried to quantify feelings. I wasn't leaving him. I was leaving what he'd made us. I saw them at our coffee shop on a Thursday morning when I should have been at work. I'd called in sick. Not lying exactly, since watching your marriage dissolve in Excel columns could be classified as illness, and gone to our old place out of habit or masochism, the one with the wobbly table by the window where Tom used to balance his laptop while I read. She was in my seat, the one facing the street where the morning light made everything look forgiving. She got the kisses I used to own. He touched her absently while reading his phone, thumb stroking her wrist, fingers playing with her bracelet, the unconscious claiming I remembered from our early days. She had a planner open, one of those expensive ones with the gold corners, making notes while he talked, probably planning something efficient, a trip with perfectly balanced itineraries, a wedding with spreadsheets that meant something different than ours had become. Her coffee was black. Of course it was. No messy additions, no complicated orders. Tom's ideal user experience. She laughed at something he said, and he smiled, not his consultant smile, but the real one that created crescents around his eyes, the one I hadn't seen since before Phoenix. Her hand moved to his face, thumb brushing his cheek, and he didn't pull away. Didn't check his watch, didn't set a timer for how long she could touch him. I stood outside for 12 minutes. I know because I watched the parking meter tick, unable to move. A stranger in my own ghost story, watching someone else live the life I'd demolished. She was probably named something efficient like Kate or Claire. One syllable. No confusion. She probably never flew to Phoenix. Never came home carrying someone else's touch like a virus. My new apartment smelled like fresh paint and nothing else. 1 bedroom in Ballard, 3rd floor, a view of absolutely nothing special. The movers Tom hired, because of course he handled that too, adding relocation services to his spreadsheet, had stacked my boxes with the same precision he applied to everything. My things looked smaller, without his mixed in. Half a life takes up less space than you'd think. I found the photo while unpacking. Us in Tuscany, holding that stupid kitchen timer we just bought, both of us sun-drunk and ignorant of what it would become. I didn't throw it away. Didn't keep it either. Left it in the box, sealed with tape, a problem for future Sarah. Work became my timer now. 9 to 5. 5 to 9 if I could stretch it. The promotion to VP had come through. Phoenix had been worth something after all. But it felt like wearing a costume of someone I'd planned to be. My new team didn't know about Tom, about timers, about spreadsheets tracking my dissolution. They knew Sarah the executive, Sarah who had her shit together, Sarah who definitely didn't eat cereal for dinner standing over her sink. I started swimming at the Y lengths in the pool where everything went quiet, where I couldn't hear timers or Excel notifications or the absence of kisses. Underwater. I wasn't anyone's wife or mistake or data point, just a body moving through resistance, getting stronger or drowning. Hard to tell the difference some days. Janet from work invited me to happy hour. I went, drank too much, told her about the timer. She laughed, then stopped when she realized I wasn't joking. He timed you? Like an egg? 3 minutes exactly. That's sociopathic. No, I said, surprising myself by defending him. Sociopaths don't feel pain. Tom felt everything. He just chose to manage it instead of feeling it. Is that better or worse? I didn't know. Still don't. A man at the bar tried to buy me a drink. Decent looking, probably kind, definitely not carrying spreadsheets. I let him. We talked about nothing. The rain, the Seahawks, whether IPAs had jumped the shark. When he asked for my number, I gave it to him. When he texted the next day, I didn't respond. I wasn't ready to be anyone's data yet. The coffee shop window stayed empty after that Thursday. I checked, more than once. Tom had probably optimized his routine, found a more efficient location, or maybe she preferred different coffee. Either way, someone else got the kisses now. The papers came on a Tuesday. Tom had them delivered to my office, because of course he did. Maximum efficiency. Signature required. Witnesses in the form of my assistant, who tried not to look curious. Divorce papers with color-coded tabs for signing. Initiated sections for reviewing. He'd included a cover letter on his company letterhead. Bullet points outlining the dissolution timeline and expected completion metrics. I signed them in the coffee room, using the good pen someone had left by the microwave. He called that evening. First time he'd actually called since I'd moved out 3 months ago. We need to exchange the final items, he said. No hello. I have some of your books. You have my grandmother's serving dish. Keep the books. That's not efficient. Saturday, 2 p.m. I could have mailed the dish, could have left it with the doorman, could have thrown it away and claimed it broke. Instead, I said yes, because I needed to see him one more time, needed to know if I'd imagined the whole thing or if he'd really turned our marriage into a spreadsheet and our bed into a boardroom. He answered the door, in the sweater I'd bought him 2 Christmases ago, the soft gray one that made his eyes look kind. The house smelled like coffee and something else. Her perfume, probably. Something floral and uncomplicated. You look well, he said, taking the serving dish. I didn't. I looked like someone who'd been sleeping 3 hours a night and calling wine dinner. But Tom was programmed for politeness now, for the clean exchanges that would look good in documentation. The kitchen timer sat on the counter. Still there, still centered on the tile seam. She doesn't mind it. I asked, mind what? The timer. Your system. He set the serving dish down carefully, like it might shatter. I don't need it anymore. Because she doesn't disgust you. Sarah. No, I'm curious. How long did you wait? A week after I moved out? 2? Or did you start dating while I was still sleeping on the other side of your pillow wall? It wasn't like that. What was it like then, Tom? Tell me. Explain how you went from timing your wife to kissing someone else in our coffee shop. Make it make sense. He looked tired suddenly. Older. The kind of tired that spreadsheets couldn't solve. You want me to be the villain, he said. It would be easier if I was the villain. You timed me. You fucked someone else. Once. Once was enough. He picked up the timer, turned it over in his hands. Do you know what it's like, Sarah? To touch the person you love most and see them with someone else. To kiss your wife and taste lies. I couldn't be vulnerable with you anymore. The timer made it bearable, made it something I could control. You turned love into a transaction I couldn't afford. He set the timer down. That same precise placement. No. You turned love into something I couldn't trust. I just found a way to stay. You call that staying? I call it trying. His voice cracked just slightly. I call it the best I could do with what was left. We stood there in the kitchen we'd renovated together, surrounded by the ghosts of Sunday crosswords and morning kisses and all the small touches that had added up to a marriage. The papers are signed, I said. I know. I got the notification. Of course he did. Of course there was a notification. I turned to leave, stopped at the door. For what it's worth, Tom, I'm sorry. Not just for Phoenix, for all of it, for what we became. Yeah, he said. Me too. The timer sat between us silent, marking nothing anymore. The kitchen timer sits on my new apartment's counter. I bought it at Target last week, not realizing until I got home. Same brand, same model, same digital red numbers reading 00.00. The receipt is still in the bag. I haven't returned it. Haven't used it either. It just sits there, a $14.99 reminder that some things follow you. Tom got remarried last month. I know because LinkedIn suggested I congratulate him on his life update. There she was, Claire, it turns out, not Kate, in a simple white dress, holding grocery store roses like the ones he used to buy me. The caption read, "Building something beautiful on a foundation of trust. 7 people from my network liked it. I pass our coffee shop sometimes. Not on purpose, it's on the way to the good grocery store. The one with the organic blueberries I still buy out of habit. The window seat stays empty most mornings, like it's reserved for ghosts. Once I saw a young couple there, sharing a croissant, her hand on his knee, his laugh visible through the glass. They looked so sure of each other, so unaware of how quickly touching becomes timed. My therapist, a new one, Dr. Martinez, who doesn't know Tom, says I'm making progress. I can talk about Phoenix without my voice cracking, can mention Tom without checking the time, can go whole days without wondering if love always becomes a spreadsheet eventually, or if that was just us. Mechanical consent isn't love, it's slow death, I told her last week, trying to explain the timer. She wrote it down, which made me feel both heard and pathetic. I'm dating someone now. Sort of. His name is Michael, and he doesn't own a timer. I checked his kitchen. He kisses me goodbye without checking his watch, touches me without scheduling it first. Last week he stayed over and made breakfast, humming off-key while scrambling eggs. No precision, no system. Eggs slightly overcooked. It was perfect. But sometimes, mid-kiss, I hear phantom beeping. The Sunday crossword still defeats me. I can't get Tom's historical clues, and nobody else knows that a 7-letter word for devotion is loyalty. I do them in pencil now, erasing more than I write, the grid looking exhausted by the time I give up. Yesterday, I found myself timing things. Shower, 6 minutes. Commute, 23. Lunch break, 52. As if precision could protect me from... What? From caring too much? From confessing another Phoenix? From becoming someone else's spreadsheet? The timer on my counter never moves, never gets set. Sometimes I think about throwing it away. But that feels too symbolic, too much like admitting something I'm not ready to name. Some things are better left untested, like whether love can survive being turned into an Excel formula. Tuesday, Friday, 3 minutes, delete row, save changes.